If you haven't watched part 1 or part 2 yet, please go back and watch them first, otherwise you won't understand anything in this part. Trust me, it's important. In part 1, Rosa Alvarez, a grieving widow and overworked maid, was secretly raising her son, Nico, in a janitor's closet at the Silverline Corporation. Until one rainy morning, the cold and powerful CEO, Leonardo Vance, walked in and froze. Because Nico had the exact same crescent moon birthmark as Leonardo's long-dead son, Elijah. In part 2, Leonardo tried to reach out, sending cars, writing letters, and offering kindness without contracts. Rosa refused to trust him. She feared losing her son. But as the pressure mounted and a mysterious photo of Nico appeared with an ominous message, "You can't hide the truth forever," Rosa realized someone was watching, someone who knew her secrets. And then Leonardo discovered a letter from his late wife, one that shook him to his core. Now, part 3 begins. Part 3, the letter from the dead wife, and the knock at midnight. Leonardo didn't move. The letter lay on the rug, the edges curling upward like it was breathing. The silence in the room pressed down on him, heavy and deafening. His hand hovered above it, trembling. Clarissa's voice echoed in his mind, and not the one he remembered from dinner parties or weekend getaways, but the voice she used when she was scared, quiet, fragile. The way she sounded the night she told him she was pregnant with Elijah. He bent down slowly and picked up the paper, smoothing the folds with reverent care. His eyes scanned the paragraph again. "Leo, if you're reading this, then I'm gone. And there's something I should have told you a long time ago. I didn't know how, I didn't know what it would do to us. But the truth is, Nico might not be Rosa's son." He froze again. "He might be ours." The breath left his lungs in a single shattered gasp. Clarissa had miscarried once early in their marriage, or so he thought, but what if that wasn't the full truth? "I didn't lose the baby, Leo. I was afraid of the pressure, of what being a Vance would mean for a child. So I asked my friend Rosa, you remember her, to help me. She was just starting at the hospital back then, and she agreed to keep him safe if anything ever happened to me. We thought we had time, but then the accident, and I never got to explain." Leonardo dropped into the chair behind him. His knees couldn't hold the weight of this new reality. He had spent years mourning Elijah, years blaming himself, years believing his wife and son had been taken from him in that tragic car crash. But now, was it possible? Had Rosa, quiet, elusive Rosa, been protecting his son all along? Across the city, Rosa sat in the dim light of her kitchen, her hand clutched around the same letter Leonardo had sent her a week before, the one inviting her to the cafe. She'd read it over and over, whispering the words like a prayer, searching between the lines for any hint of deception. But all she found was pain, and now fear. The photo of Nico outside daycare haunted her. Someone had been watching them, not just Leonardo, someone else, someone dangerous. And that night, as she rocked Nico to sleep, a knock came at the door. She didn't move at first. Maybe it was her neighbor. Maybe it was nothing. But then another knock, slower, heavier. Her breath caught. Her spine went rigid. She tiptoed to the peephole. No one. Just shadows in the hallway. She waited 5 minutes. 10. Nothing. But when she opened the door a crack, a small white envelope was waiting on the ground. No stamp, no return address, just one word written in red ink across the front. Truth. Her fingers shook as she picked it up. Inside was a single sheet of paper. "You're not the only one who knows what happened at St. Helena's Hospital. Clarissa lied to you, and Leonardo doesn't deserve the truth. Meet me, midnight, 14th and Belmont. Come alone, or the truth comes out another way." Rosa's legs nearly gave out. St. Helena's, that was the hospital, the one where she worked as a temp nurse the same year Elijah Vance was supposedly born and died. How could anyone know? She rushed to the bedroom and checked on Nico, still fast asleep, safe, unaware. But Rosa was unraveling. There was someone else involved, someone who knew about that year, someone who might have access to hospital records and secrets, and now they were watching. Was it a blackmailer, a stalker, a witness, or something darker? She didn't know. But she couldn't ignore it. She couldn't go to Leonardo, not yet. Not with this hanging over her, not when she didn't even know if she could trust herself. But she also couldn't let this person hold power over her. So Rosa made a decision. She would go to the meeting. Alone. She tucked the letter in her purse, kissed Nico's forehead, and whispered, "Mama will be back soon." Then she slipped out into the night, her coat wrapped tightly around her shoulders, and began walking toward the corner of 14th and Belmont, not knowing what waited for her in the shadows. And behind her, at the end of the alley, The matte black sedan pulled slowly into gear, its headlights off. Rosa walked quickly, but her steps were measured, careful. The kind of careful that came from surviving too many dark nights in unfamiliar neighborhoods where shadows seemed to whisper and street lamps flickered like they were holding secrets of their own. The city was quiet at this hour, but not silent. In the distance, a dog barked, then stopped. A siren wailed somewhere, faint and fleeting. The wind rustled through the narrow alleyways, brushing past her with cold, invisible fingers, as if warning her to turn back, but she didn't. Her hands were buried deep in her coat pockets. One hand gripped the envelope labeled Truth, the other wrapped tightly around the keychain that held a picture of Nico, the only anchor she had in a world that seemed determined to shift beneath her feet. By the time she reached 14th and Belmont, the street was almost deserted. A broken streetlight buzzed overhead, casting a sickly yellow hue on the sidewalk, while the rest of the block seemed swallowed in darkness. An old, rusted payphone stood like a relic of another life beside the alley entrance. No cars, no footsteps, just the whisper of wind against metal. Rosa hesitated. Then, slowly, from the shadows at the far end of the alley, a figure stepped forward. Not a man, not a woman, not at first glance, just a silhouette, hooded, still. She took a cautious step closer. "I'm here," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. "I came alone." The figure didn't move for a moment. Then, a voice, low and steady, female, slightly hoarse. "I know who you are, Rosa, and I know what Clarissa made you do." Rosa's stomach twisted. "What are you talking about?" she asked, heart thundering in her chest. The woman pulled her hood back slowly. She had short hair, a sharp jawline, and eyes that looked like they'd seen too much. Too much pain. Too much betrayal. She looked familiar, but Rosa couldn't place her. "I worked with you," the woman said, stepping into the dim circle of light. "St. Helena's, the maternity wing. You don't remember me, do you?" Rosa's eyes searched her face. "No, You were younger then. So was I. And you were terrified. Do you remember a night when two babies were born just minutes apart? One went to the nursery, the other," she paused, her jaw tightening, "vanished." Rosa flinched as if slapped. She did remember, not the whole night, not clearly, but flashes. The dim hospital lights, the crying, the whispered orders, Clarissa's pale, trembling hands, a nurse arguing with a supervisor, something about a switch, no names, no records, just fear. "I thought it was over," Rosa whispered. "Clarissa said no one would find out. She begged me to take the baby, to protect him." The woman's voice sharpened. "Because she stole him." Rosa's mouth dropped open. "What? No, she said he was hers." "She lied, Rosa. Elijah Vance wasn't Clarissa's biological child. She couldn't have children. She had a miscarriage 2 years before. I know. I saw the records myself. And yet, a year later, she shows up with a baby boy. No birth certificate, no prenatal appointments, no medical trail, nothing." Rosa staggered backward, grabbing the brick wall for balance. "That can't be true. She said she was afraid of the media, of the pressure. That's why she wanted to keep it secret." The woman's eyes flashed. "She wanted to own a child. She wanted to be a Vance wife with a Vance heir. And you helped her." "No." Rosa's voice cracked. "No, she was my friend. She was sick, yes, and scared. But she wasn't evil. She loved that baby." "She lied to you too." There was a long silence. The only sound was Rosa's ragged breathing. Then the woman stepped closer and held out a small photograph, old, yellowing, torn at the edge. It showed two newborn babies, side by side in a hospital bassinet, one with a red ribbon on its ankle, the other with none. "I took this," she said. "I was a junior nurse, and I kept it because I knew something was wrong that night, and years later I found the name Nico Alvarez, a child with no official birth record until he was 3 months old, and guess what?" She pulled something else from her coat. "His footprint, hospital ID, everything." Rosa shook her head slowly, tears forming in her eyes. "You're wrong," she whispered, but her voice lacked conviction. "Am I?" the woman asked. "Or is it possible that Clarissa faked a pregnancy, stole a child, and used you to keep the lie alive? But why come forward now, after all these years?" The woman's eyes burned with something Rosa couldn't name. "Because someone else is digging, someone more powerful. If Leonardo finds out the real story, that Nico might not be his biological son or Clarissa's, do you really think he'll show you mercy? You'll lose everything." Rosa felt her knees go weak. The wind picked up again, sharp and biting this time. It cut through her coat, through her bones, through every fragile piece of hope she'd been clinging to. "I need proof," she said quietly. "Real proof." The woman stepped back into the shadows. "Then come to St. Helena's tomorrow, 9 p.m., the basement archives. That's where the truth lives, or dies." And just like that, she turned and disappeared into the alley. Rosa stood alone at the corner, trembling, the photo clenched in one hand and the word truth echoing louder and louder in her mind until it felt like it would split her in two. Back across the city, Leonardo sat in his office, the letter still in his lap, but his eyes on something else now. A report one of his security men had called in a few hours earlier. A tip, anonymous. Someone had been watching Rosa. But that wasn't what caught Leonardo's attention. It was a second file, one delivered by his private investigator. It contained something he hadn't expected, a record from St. Helena's Hospital, a birth certificate for a boy named Elijah Vance. But it had been stamped revoked. And next to it was another name, Nicholas Alvarez. Same birth date, same time, different mother. Leonardo stood up slowly, his face pale, his eyes unreadable. He picked up his phone and dialed. "Bring Rosa in," he said coldly. "Tonight." Rosa's footsteps echoed faintly as she fled the alley, her heels clicking like the ticking of a countdown clock, one she could no longer ignore. Her breath came in shallow, uneven bursts, each inhale laced with the bitter taste of dread. She didn't look back. She couldn't. Her mind reeled with the woman's words, the photograph now burning against her palm like a piece of smoldering truth that threatened to ignite everything she'd fought to protect. Clarissa had lied. Or had she? She couldn't think, couldn't trust her memories. Everything she thought she'd known about that night at St. Helena's. The panic, the whispers, the sterile white walls that now felt stained with secrets. It all felt like a broken mirror. Shards of truth scattered and sharp, reflecting something terrifying in every direction. When she reached her apartment, her fingers fumbled at the lock. The door creaked open slowly, and for the first time in years, she closed it behind her and slid the deadbolt shut. She found Nico curled beneath a blanket on the old sofa, the glow of the nightlight painting his cheeks gold, innocent, unaware, safe, for now. She knelt beside him and brushed a lock of dark hair from his face. A crescent moon birthmark peeked from under his collar. Her throat tightened. Had she raised someone else's child? Or had she saved him? Was she a mother-in or a pawn? Rosa didn't sleep that night. She sat at the window with the photo clutched to her chest and watched the city breathe beneath her. Headlights streaking like comets through the streets, the occasional drunk laugh floating up from the sidewalks below, and somewhere, someone else watching too. Watching her, waiting. At exactly 6:15 a.m., 3 sharp knocks shattered the quiet. Rosa froze. Her first thought was the woman from the alley. Her second thought was worse. She peeked through the peephole. 2 men in dark suits, sunglasses, earpieces, not police, not strangers. Security. Vance security. Her stomach sank. Before she could move, one of them spoke through the door. "Miss Alvarez, Mr. Vance has requested your presence, now." Her heart lurched. How? How did he know? Had he found out everything? She opened the door a crack. "Is something wrong?" He didn't say, just that it's urgent. She thought of running, of slipping out the back and vanishing into the morning fog with Nico bundled in her arms like she had once before. But it was too late for that now. The truth was coming whether she opened the door or not. So she nodded, packed Nico's things quietly, and carried him down the stairs, whispering stories into his ear to keep herself from unraveling. When they arrived at Silverline's headquarters, the building loomed even taller than before, not just in size, but in presence. Rosa felt it like a storm cloud pressing down on her chest. The guards led her to the top floor, to his office. The door was open, and Leonardo Vance stood with his back to her, staring out the window at the glittering skyline. He didn't turn around, but his voice, when it came, was colder than steel. "Close the door." She did. Slowly. He finally turned to face her, and in his hands, he held 2 documents. One she recognized instantly, the revoked birth certificate. The other she didn't. "Where did you get those?" she asked, her voice low. He ignored the question. "You told me Nico was your son, that you raised him alone, that he wasn't mine." "I believe that," Rosa said, her throat dry. I thought he was Clarissa's. I thought she trusted me because she couldn't Clarissa couldn't have children, he cut in sharply. Not after the miscarriage. That was confirmed. You knew that, didn't you? Rosa looked away. I didn't know for sure, she whispered. I suspected, but I didn't want to believe she'd lie to me. We were friends. She was hurting. Leonardo's jaw tightened. Friends don't steal babies, Rosa. She didn't, maybe, Rosa faltered. Her head was spinning. I don't know what happened that night, but I didn't steal anyone. She begged me to take care of him. She said it was temporary. Then the accident happened, and I couldn't just abandon him. I couldn't let him disappear into the system. Leonardo's voice was dangerously calm. So you lied to me for 5 years. I protected him. His eyes flickered, just for a moment. Then he looked down at the documents in his hand. There's more, he said. There's a report from one of our PIs. Someone else is investigating this. Someone with hospital access. They've been watching you, digging into records from St. Helena's. And they've made contact. Rosa's blood ran cold. A woman! Leonardo looked up sharply. She said she worked in the maternity ward that night, Rosa continued, trembling now. She showed me a picture. 2 babies side by side. One with a ribbon, one without. She said Clarissa took the wrong baby, that neither of them belonged to her. Leonardo's mouth opened, then closed again. His voice was quieter when he finally asked, So who is Nico? Rosa looked at the sleeping boy in her arms, his soft breath rising and falling against her shoulder. I don't know, she said honestly. I don't know whose blood runs in his veins, but I know who raised him. I know who sat with him through fevers and first steps and nightmares. I know who he calls Mama. That has to mean something. Leonardo didn't respond for a long time. Then he walked slowly to his desk, picked up a folder and handed it to her. She opened it with trembling fingers. Inside were the original hospital logs from St. Helena's. Scanned pages, delivery times, patient charts. But something had been scratched out. A name, a mother's name. Rosa stared at it, a chill sliding down her spine. There's someone missing, she whispered. Leonardo nodded. And I want to know who. There was a long, aching pause. And then, softly, he added, I don't care what biology says, Rosa. I don't care whose DNA is in that child. I've lost a son before. I'm not losing another. Not if I can help it. Rosa looked up, startled. His voice had changed. There was no cold steel now, just sorrow. And maybe something close to hope. But before either of them could speak again, the phone on Leonardo's desk rang. Once, twice. He picked it up. His face changed. He hung up without a word. Then he looked Rosa dead in the eye. She's gone, he said. Who? Rosa whispered. The woman from the hospital, your contact. She was found dead this morning in her apartment. No forced entry, no sign of struggle. Rosa felt the floor tilt beneath her. They're not just watching, Leonardo said darkly. They're eliminating anyone who knows the truth. Rosa's breath caught in her throat as if the air itself had turned to ice. Her knees buckled and she gripped the edge of Leonardo's desk for balance. Her pulse was thunder in her ears, drowning out everything but the roaring realization that this was no longer just a secret hidden in hospital corridors or buried beneath paperwork. This was a war, and the enemy had already begun to strike. Leonardo moved around the desk and gently pulled the folder from her trembling hands, setting it aside like something fragile. His face had hardened again, but not with anger, with a frightening sort of resolve. The kind that came from decades of navigating boardrooms and backstabbing empires. The kind of resolve that broke men or saved them. There was no middle ground. She was your only lead, he said, low and grim. Who else knows? No one, Rosa whispered. She told me to meet her tonight at the hospital archives. She said the answers were down there, in the basement. Leonardo's eyes narrowed. If she was killed this morning, then someone already knew about the meeting. Someone's watching that hospital. Maybe they're watching us right now. Rosa's eyes flicked toward the tall windows. The skyline looked different now, less like a city and more like a chessboard, and she had no idea who was playing which side. He stepped closer, lowering his voice. I need you to listen to me very carefully now. From this moment on, you are not to speak to anyone about this. Not a friend, not a neighbor, not even Nico's pediatrician. Do you understand? Rosa nodded, mute. I'll double the security around your building, he continued. You and Nico will stay in the Vance estate tonight. The north wing. It's isolated. Only 2 people have access. She hesitated. And if this goes deeper than we think? It already does. Leonardo exhaled sharply. This isn't about Clarissa anymore. This is about whoever helped her, whoever erased the mother's name from those records, whoever made a baby disappear. But why? Rosa asked, her voice cracking. Why take someone's child and pretend it was hers? Why go to such lengths? Leonardo looked away, jaw tight. Because Clarissa was desperate. And when desperate people have money and influence, they don't just break the rules, they rewrite them. A silence stretched between them, heavy as stone. Then he reached into a drawer and pulled out a small USB drive. He handed it to her. This was recovered from Clarissa's private safe after her accident. I never looked at it. I thought it was just old documents or estate records, but now I think you should see what's on it. Maybe she left something behind. A reason. Rosa took it, her fingers cold around the tiny device. I'll watch it tonight, she said softly, but Leonardo shook his head. No, we'll watch it now. He crossed the room to the flat screen mounted behind his desk, inserted the drive into the hidden port, and clicked through the folders. There were dozens of files, legal documents, audio memos, but one folder stood out. It was labeled Solemn Promise. He opened it. Inside was a single video file. They both stared at it for a moment, as if pressing play might trigger something irreversible. Then Rosa nodded. Leonardo clicked. The screen flickered to life, and there she was, Clarissa. Sitting in the very chair Rosa now occupied, her eyes red-rimmed, her skin pale. She looked thinner than Rosa remembered, like a woman unraveling quietly piece by piece. Her voice was hoarse but clear. If you're watching this, then I've either died, or you finally started asking the questions I prayed you never would. Rosa's hand flew to her mouth. Clarissa looked directly into the camera, her expression raw and unguarded. There's no excuse for what I did, but there is a reason. A child was born that night, a child who wasn't supposed to survive. The mother, she was barely more than a girl, no insurance, no family, no chance. The baby was labeled critical. They thought he'd die within days. Clarissa paused, her lip trembling. But I saw him, I held him, and something in me, something I didn't understand, decided I would save him, that I had to, even if I had to lie, even if it destroyed me. Leonardo leaned in slightly. Rosa didn't breathe. I made arrangements. I paid someone. I had his records altered. I faked the pregnancy photos, and I told everyone he was mine. Because once I knew he would live, I couldn't let him go. She closed her eyes in the video. There was another baby born that night, a girl, healthy, but her mother, she never came back for her. That's how the switch happened. It wasn't planned. It was survival. Mine. His. Hers. I didn't think it would matter. I thought I could raise him in love and never look back. The screen dimmed for a moment. Then Clarissa spoke again, more softly. Rosa, I'm sorry. I involved you because I trusted you, because I was alone. And you were the only one who didn't ask too many questions. I never wanted to ruin your life, but now I think it's coming undone, all of it. Be careful. There are people watching, people who don't want the truth out, people who made sure those babies were untraceable. If you dig, they will come for you. The video cut to black. Silence. Leonardo stood frozen. Rosa stared at the screen, her heart hollowed out. Clarissa had admitted it, all of it, the theft, the manipulation, the cover-up. But she had also admitted something else, something terrifying. They weren't alone. Leonardo turned to Rosa, his face grim. We need to go to the archives tonight, together, whatever they wanted, buried. It's still down there. Rosa nodded, her voice barely a breath. We finished this. But just as they moved toward the door, Leonardo's phone buzzed again. One message, a single line. Don't go to St. Helena's, there's a fire, it's already begun. Rosa's blood went cold. They were too late. The past was burning, and someone was making sure the truth would burn with it. To be continued. Comment part 4 if you want to know what they discover in the ashes, and who else will fall before the truth finally rises. And subscribe to Brayno, because the secrets are just getting darker. And the truth? It may destroy them all.